It was one of those gray, drizzly Tuesdays, the kind where the city feels a bit grumpy and everyone's rushing, heads down, umbrellas like shields against the world. I'd just finished my shift at The Daily Grind, the little coffee shop where I worked. My feet ached, my apron smelled like stale coffee and cinnamon, and all I wanted was to get home to my tiny apartment and a cup of tea. As I turned the corner onto Market Street, I saw him. He was sitting on a low brick wall, the kind that borders those sad little city planters. He looked lost. Not homeless, not exactly, though his clothes were a bit rumpled, and he had a kind of haunted look in his eyes. He was older, maybe late 50s, with gray hair that was usually well kept, I guessed, but now looked like he'd run his hands through it 100 times. He was just staring at the rain-slicked pavement, a deep sadness etched on his face. People were hurrying past him, a stream of busy lives. No one even glanced his way. My mum always said, "Sarah, a little kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything." And something about him just pulled at my heart. I hesitated for a moment. My own troubles weren't exactly small. Rent was due, my cat Whiskers needed a vet visit I couldn't quite afford, but he looked like he was carrying the weight of the world, so I walked over. "Excuse me," I said softly. "Are you all right?" He looked up, startled, his eyes a tired blue. They focused on me slowly, as if pulling himself back from a very distant place. "Oh, yes, I mean, no, not really." His voice was hoarse. "Can I get you anything?" I asked. "A coffee? Something to eat? I just came from the shop." He shook his head. "No, thank you, dear. That's very kind." He looked back down. I couldn't just walk away. I sat down on the damp wall next to him, leaving a little space. "It's a miserable day, isn't it?" I said, trying to sound cheerful. "Good for ducks, I suppose." A tiny smile touched his lips. "I suppose it is." We sat in silence for a bit. I fiddled with the strap of my bag. I had half a tuna sandwich left, from my lunch and a bottle of water. "Look," I said, pulling them out. "It's not much, but I was going to toss it. You should have it." He looked at the sandwich, then at me. "You're sure?" "Positive," I said. "Waste not, want not, my gran used to say." He took it, his fingers brushing mine. They were cold. "Thank you," he said, his voice a little stronger. He unwrapped the sandwich and took a small bite, then a bigger one. He ate like he hadn't eaten all day. He drank the water, too. "My name's Sarah, by the way," I offered. "Arthur," he replied, his mouth full. After he swallowed, he said, "Thank you, Sarah. Truly, you have no idea." "Everyone has rough days," I said, shrugging. "Sometimes you just need someone to notice." We talked a little more. Not about anything important, really. The weather, the pigeons, how the city was changing. He didn't tell me what was wrong, and I didn't ask. Sometimes just having someone sit with you is enough. After about 20 minutes, he seemed a bit more himself. The haunted look hadn't entirely vanished, but some light had returned to his eyes. He stood up, brushing crumbs from his trousers. "I should be going. Thank you again, Sarah. You've been a ray of sunshine on a very dark day." "Take care, Arthur," I said, smiling. He nodded, gave a little wave, and walked off down the street, disappearing into the crowd. I thought about him a few times over the next week. Hoped he was okay. Life went on. Rent got paid, just. Whiskers got his checkup, a minor ear infection, and I kept serving lattes and mochas. Then, about 10 days later, a sleek black car, the kind you only see in movies, pulled up outside. The Daily Grind. A man in a smart suit got out of the passenger side, opened the back door, and out stepped Arthur. But it wasn't the Arthur I'd met on the street. This Arthur was wearing an expensive-looking suit. His gray hair was perfectly styled, and he carried an air of quiet authority. He looked like he owned half the city. My jaw nearly hit the floor. He spotted me through the window, wiping down the counter, and smiled, a genuine warm smile. He came in, the bell above the door jingling. "Sarah," he said, his voice much richer and more confident than I remembered. "I was hoping I'd find you here." I just stared. "Arthur, is that really you?" He chuckled. "In the flesh. Looking a bit better, I hope?" "A bit?" I stammered. "You look like a different person." My co-worker, Jenny, was openly gawping from behind the espresso machine. "May I?" He gestured to a small table. I nodded dumbly, untying my apron. Once we were sitting, he leaned forward. "Sarah, I owe you more than just thanks for that sandwich. My name is Arthur Davies. I'm the CEO of Davies Holdings." My mind went blank. Davies Holdings? The huge development company? The one that was building that massive new complex downtown? I'd seen his picture in the business section of the paper once or twice, but he'd looked so different then, so polished, and so very different from the man on the wall. "That day," he continued, his voice softening, "I'd had a terrible morning. A huge deal had fallen through. I'd had a bitter argument with my son, and I felt like my whole world was collapsing. I just walked out of my office, no phone, no wallet, just needing to escape. I must have walked for miles. I was at my lowest point. And then you came along. Tears pricked my eyes. I didn't know what to say. Your simple act of kindness," he said, his own eyes a little misty. "Sitting with me, sharing your lunch, not asking questions, just being there. It was like an anchor. It reminded me that there was still good in the world, that not everything was about business and bottom lines. I just did what anyone would do," I mumbled, feeling my cheeks flush. "No, Sarah," he said firmly. "Not everyone would. Many people walked right past. You stopped. You cared." He paused, then reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "This is a small token of my gratitude." I looked at the envelope, then at him. "Mr. Davies." "Arthur, I didn't do it for a reward." "I know you didn't," he said gently. "That's precisely why you deserve it. And please, call me Arthur." He pushed the envelope towards me. "It's not just money, Sarah. There's a proposal in there, too. I found out you have a dream of opening your own little bakery someday. My company has a community investment program. We help small businesses get started." My heart did a funny little flip. My bakery dream? How did he? Oh, I must have mentioned it in our rambling chat. I'd almost forgotten. I opened the envelope later, back in my tiny apartment, whiskers purring on my lap. There was a check inside with more zeros than I'd ever seen in one place. But more importantly, there was a letter outlining a plan, a proper business plan, for a small bakery in a newly renovated historic building downtown, with startup funding and mentorship from his team. It felt unreal, like a fairy tale. But it was happening. It took months of planning, hard work, and a lot of learning. But Sarah's Sweet Somethings opened its doors 6 months later. Arthur was there on opening day, cutting the ribbon. He's a regular customer now, always orders a black coffee and a slice of my lemon drizzle cake. He says it reminds him of kindness. Sometimes when I'm kneading dough early in the morning, the scent of yeast and sugar filling the air, I think back to that gray, drizzly Tuesday. I didn't know I was helping a millionaire CEO. I just saw a person who looked like he needed a friend. And Mum was right. A little kindness costs nothing, but sometimes, in the most unexpected ways, it can change everything, not just for the person you help, but for you too. It certainly changed my world.